been around working for over 2 decades. And when I say 2 decades, it seems really, really long. And I've played around in media, telecom, payments, and the dot-com industry. So I've enjoyed working in sales, business development, alliances. I worked in marketing, but I think, that as a part of my journey, the one thing that I've really enjoyed has been working in sales and business development. Yes, I think sales is everything, arts and science both. I mean, I absolutely I love sales. I'm passionate about sales. I think it's one of the most underrated functions. It brings in the money, but it's so much more than that, right? Like you said, you not just understand the customer's needs, but the thing about sales is it's forever evolving. It's not just fixed. You have to strategize. You have to figure what someone needs. It has to be a win-win for both. So it is, and you're in sales even when you are pitching for an interview for yourself. You're selling when you are the CEO of a firm. You're selling at any given point in time. So right now, I am the founder and CEO of Afthonia. Afthonia is a FinTech focused incubator. I also ended up in 2012, I decided to sort of give up on a formal salary paying career and start something of my own. I co-founded Eatilish, which was a food-based startup focused on Indian artisanal food products in the country with Shipra. We would source spices, condiments and snacks from different parts of the country and sell it on our website Eatilish across 32 modern retail trade stores in India, Amazon, I mean, you name it and we were there. We had an exit around 2018-2019, a support system for startups that would help them grow and sustain. You have about I think the success rate of startups, you will see a lot of unicorns in India, but you'd have, I think, about 70 to 80% of startups which would be death pools, if not higher. Even in established businesses, so like I worked at TATA, I worked at RELIANCE, but even in those companies, I chose sectors which were sort of just being built out. So I was in telecom. But even within telecom, I used my media skills and focused on value-added services for telecom. I wanted to work on building something out, from scratch and seeing how that takes shape and what I can do with it. I think it's been a mixed bag. Everyone has had, different thoughts and perspectives. The most obvious ones are, of course, the fact that health sector, the edtech, the fintech, they all sort of grew at a pace which would not have happened otherwise. The change and the adoptions happened faster in these sectors. Like any other industry, the startup ecosystem and the startups themselves have had, both the good and the bad. So for a lot of startups, it was about refocusing and understanding that liquidity and capital is not going to be available as easily as it was. It has forced a lot of us in the startup ecosystem to relook at what we focus on, So I think the conversations are moving from valuations to value creations to profitability. So I think that, it's going to bring in a focus where you will see a mixed bag of work environment. You will see more growth on digital infrastructure. With the startup ecosystem, I think there is going to be a change in conversations with more focus on profitability, growth and value creation in the true sense rather than just valuations. I don't think collaboration is an innovation that should happen due to COVID. I think collaboration is the fundamental of a strong business. So, like I said, it's just going to come back into focus. But if you want to be a business which succeeds and scales, you can't exist in silos. It has to be on collaboration. So that's a fundamental value. Globally, there are certain sectors which have been interesting for investors abroad. So like I said, fintech has emerged as a favorite because all your payments happen remotely. People will have to, even in insurance, will have to move remote. Health tech and, education, edtech are another two areas which have emerged as interests of international investors. See, what's been exciting at Afthonia is that what we're seeing even in the case of our startups is that there is an interest in the early stage investments. Typically in fintech, it was dominated by, say Series D or Series B or Series A. But right now we see that a lot of international investors, and specifically angel investments, have increased in early stage fintech startups. I think we're just at the beginning of the story. You have over 2,000 startups, over 2,000 fintech startups. I think 50% of this would be in the payment space, even lesser in, say, wealth, buy now, pay later, insurance. And I think the latest BCG and FICCI report says that you have 1,800 plus early stage startups. Look at the size of the country you're talking about. Look at the global market. What is an 1,800 plus going to do? And I think there's going to be a growth in allied services, like with the digitization in fintech, you will see fraud management, risk management, fraud detection, these kind of startups coming up and growing more. So I think for India, this is just the beginning of the story. We're nowhere near saturation. I worked in 2009 in PayMate, right? And one of the projects that I worked on was taking Kisan credit card onto the mobile. I think the real play is going to be in the tier 2, tier 3 cities. It doesn't matter what industry, you're talking about. Look at Harvesting Farmers Network. They have done a brilliant job during the lockdown in picking up, mass produced from farmers and making it available, and farmers are selling it directly. So I think that story is again just beginning to grow. As a matter of fact, growth in fintech will come in from tier 2, tier 3 cities, not just in terms of consumption, but also I think a lot of interesting startups will come in from there. Right from the time I started working, when I walk into the room or when I'm working, I have never thought in my head that I'm a woman employee or a woman leader. So I had some fantastic bosses who taught me the importance of work-life balance, who taught me how to be inspired with everything around me, who taught me to look at problems, acknowledge them, and then deal with them, right? So in that sense, those are the things I imbibed, and those are the things that I've tried to sort of have as someone who's leading a team. So for me, it is, I am as good as my team. So I'm not the team, it's my team who makes me. If my team fails, it's my failure. But if my team succeeds, it's their success because they've put in what's necessary. So for me as a leader, it's about providing you that environment, having your back, and making sure that I help you in whatever way that I can to grow. And that growth is not, your growth has to be aligned with, while people say your growth has to be aligned with the company's growth, I think the company's growth also has to be aligned with your team members' growth. You can't want two different things, then there's something really wrong. So, and as a woman leader, I think the one key difference that I try to bring is creating a culture which is apolitical, a culture which is focused on providing an environment which is safe for people, right? It's not just about women, but safe for people. You're not judged on the number of hours that you put in, but the quality of work that you put in. I absolutely think that if you're working 24/7, then you need to reevaluate why you're doing that, because you need some time off to come back and give back to your work. The only message I really want to give out there is that, you should, so there's as an entrepreneur, it's a full-time commitment.